It's up to you.
Yeah. Hilchos Brachos, Dr. Rambam Perek Dalet. It's another perek that's also very halacha l'maisa, but again, which we'll try to learn the Rambam is simply is understood. When a person benches brichas hamazon on bread, whether he's benching Ma'atayah because he was satisfied, or whether he's benching the Rabbanon because he was Yir Kazayas, a bracha achas me'ein sholish, or he's benching the bracha that you make afterwards when you have other types of food from grain or from the shiva minim or from wine. So there's a chiyuv to bench that bracha in a place where you ate. Now a person who is eating while he's walking around indoors, we're talking about not when he's walking around outside New Jersey. What?
Outside.
No. Well, that's something else. But that's also true. But b'chlal, even inside, you shouldn't be walking around. That's the din, essentially. But a person inside, he's inside, he's walking around. He's not in one place. Then yeshiv makom shepasach, and because the reason why I'm saying that is because the din is different. 1 second. Yeshiv makom shepasach, wherever you finish, in whichever room in the house, while you're walking around, following your kid, you're babysitting, he's running around, right? Whatever it is, where you finish eating, you sit down over there, and that's where you bench. We'll make the al michal al gef and al teres. The person who eats while he's standing in one place, even though he's going to be in the same place standing, rather than do stand, he should have to sit down, make the bracha sitting down, mitzad kavanah, mitzad other reasons. Shachach brichas hamazon, a person forgot to bench, he remembered before the food digested, which in simply what the Rambam means that he's still not hungry yet again. So then, so wherever he is, makes the bracha wherever he remembered the bracha. Now, he's not mechuyev to go back to the place where he ate, because he left that place by accident, so we don't knas him to go back. All you amazed if he deliberately left the place where he started eating, went somewhere else to have a conversation, whatever, and now he wants to bench, and chayiv him to go back to the location where he ate and bench over there. And if he did, now did two things wrong. He left the place where he was eating without benching. Not supposed to do that. And then he went and said, "I'm not going back. I'm going to bench over here." The question was, "Yetzer?" Do we say no? He wasn't Yetzer. The answer is yes. He was Yetzer. He was a chiva benching. He was over the issue of leaving the location and not returning to the location. But the chiva benching he did, he doesn't have to bench again. He shouldn't bench again. It's a bracha vatala. A person who made the bracha while he's standing up instead of sitting down, like we said before, he ate standing and he benched standing. Or while he's walking around the house, again, even though b'diavad should not do that, even though Chili shouldn't do that, again, Yetz is chiv of benching. However, the Chachila, again, a person should not make brichas hamazon or the bracha of al michal al gefen, etc. al peres. He could be sitting down, not standing up. And the location he ate, not so standing up, not sitting down, and dafki sitting in the place where he ate. Good. Why the Rambam says it's just being a kitzer, so there's a reason why the Rambam is doing burning and the Mepharshim talk about it. Okay. Fine. Halacha base. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, the reason why I say we have to walk around his house, the person who's traveling, he's walking on the road, he's not mechuyev to sit down. He's allowed to bench standing up, or even while he's walking. That's something else. No, I'm not sure what the reason is. That's what it says over from the bottom. Okay, halacha base. Now, if you didn't know at face value, you might wonder, what's the Rambam telling us? Let's read it simply. A person eating a sandwich, he doesn't remember, did I say a bracha or not? He doesn't make a bracha again. Why? Because the chiv is not matir. The chiv is the rabbanon. The principle is self. The rabbanon the kula. You can be makel and not say a bracha again. Now you want to be machmir yourself, be a frumak and make the bracha. What if you said the bracha and now you're saying a bracha v'tala? She dafka shouldn't say it again. Fine. And because there's no chiv to be machmir, it could be bracha v'tala. If you dafka should not. Now, a person forgot to make a metzi. No question about it. He knows you forgot to make the bracha. Remember, it's about to say bracha. He thought he was, or let's say about it, he thought he was eating, I was going to say cornbread, but that's not a good example. But then he makes it a bracha shahakal. So, okay. Forgot to make a bracha metzi. If he remembers before he finishes eating, he should make a metzi now. If he finishes eating, any of the make a bracha. Now, what's the chiddush? Of course, he forgot to say mitzi. He's halfway through the sandwich. Why would you think he shouldn't say mitzi now on the part he's going to continue eating? And what do you think? He finished the meal. Don't say a bracha. What's to say a bracha on? There's no food left. So the verse is like this. You've got to see Shachal Levarach HaMeitzi, you've got to Levarach HaMeitzi. In this case, he remembered before he didn't finish the meal. So Einei Chayzim Mevarach, because if he would say, excuse me, Chayzim Mevarach is HaMeitzi now. With this Hametzi he says now in the second half of the sandwich, he's being yoyed to the Hametzi in the first half that he ate. The bracha goes on what he already ate. That's the vorto. That's a chiddush. The im, as opposed to saying, if you can keep eating bread, say a bracha. No, now the bracha goes back what you already ate. The im la'acha shegamar, and if he remembers after he finishes the bracha, even though he has still more bread to eat, but he in his mind doesn't want to eat anymore, then he remembered. Right, he decided, you know what, he has two sandwiches, he ate one, he's fine, I'm not eating the second one. Then he chaps, I didn't say a bracha. So, he doesn't make a bracha on meitzi, even if he has more bread to eat. Still, because if you know what, I'm going to eat the second sandwich now, make hametzi, at least now I made hametzi. Fine. But that's not going to help you on the bread you ate already. It's because you in your mind finished the meal. The hametzi now goes forward, it doesn't go backward. So now the halacha base is addressing if I make hametzi, in what context can I make hametzi now, and it helps retroactively on the food I already ate. And this is the answer. When you still have fruit left and you didn't finish eating, that's when it goes backwards. The fact that you have to make hametzi now, you want to keep eating, never pasha. That's not a halacha gimel. I just thought that I would add that because otherwise the halacha is very like what we're saying over here.
So the fact that you're including your meal now with
later in the parak, not over here.
The fact that you're including your meal now together with that second hametzi, right? Retroactively now,
That's what I was saying over here. Yeah,
it's goes retroactive.
Only if you did not have in mind to finish your meal. If you had, if you in your mind finished, then I'm going to eat more. This way, I'll say how much at least now. Okay, but that's not going to help the how much you forgot.
The meal, it goes retroactive.
Yeah, if you're still in milk. The person's eating in a house by himself. You can also say a case where there's a bunch of people together and they all do this together. But the point is that everyone, with one person there, everyone together. Let's say the individual, he's eating by himself in one house. The pause doesn't end. He stops his meal. He does not bench. But he stops eating. And he goes to a different house, and he doesn't go to the to continue his meal necessarily. It's time he goes to a different house. Or he was eating, friend calls him to speak with him, even if it's an important thing in a mitzvah. He goes, leaves his house without benching. He leaves the door of his house, and he comes back. According to the Alter Rebbe, the Rambam means that he afterwards for a significant amount of time. Since he changed location in the middle of the meal, he has to now make a bracha for the past, meaning he has to bench. Bracha means it's the bench. He has to make a bracha now, so his meal will stop by default. So now, when you stop the meal by default, what does Allah say you have to do when you stop eating? You finish eating. Your meal has been terminated. Sorry. You've been terminated. Whatever, like the expression goes, or whatever the there's a lashon over there with the kid says. So now you have to bench. You're going to keep eating now. You went back. You want to keep eating. Fine, but you finished the previous meal. You have to bench on that meal. Therefore, he has to bench now. I'll masha on it before he left his location. Now you want to keep eating? Fine. Now make a new hametzi on what you're going to eat hametzi. Then finish the rest of the meal. Meaning continue. You finish your meal, meaning which is halacha viewing as a second meal now. And if you it's one big lunch. But halacha says now it's a new meal. When you leave the location for a significant location. Yeah, for sure. That's not a question if you go back. But the word over here is that whether he goes back or not, he has to say my meal is done because I left the location for a significant time, and therefore now the meal has been terminated. And he has to bench now what he did before. You want to now wash and make hametzi more? Fine, no problem. Yeah. Halacha dalet. People sitting together in the eating. They went to B'Yud Chassan Kala. So. Why is that an example when to be the Chassan Kala? So Pashal and is just an example. You could also say that it was dafki because they left for a good reason. It was a mitzvah that if they don't go now, the mitzvah is going to pass. The ceremony is passing. Okay. So now we're not talking about an individual, not talking about a group of people. If they left there, or anybody for that matter, I'm going to give the chiddush of somebody who couldn't go anyways. Yeah, because then you go back to the place for Gaiman, so dust and finish the meal. They don't have to bench now or make a new hametzi for that matter, because by leaving people there who did from the group, the meal wasn't terminated. If, however, there was one person left by himself, or there was a bunch of people, everyone left, and no one stayed behind, the Rambam says Adam, he doesn't say that's the point. The point is just an example. Yeah? Then they have to bench for the prior, meaning they have to bench for what they did before, and the Chadchila should bench before they leave B'chlal. If they didn't, they have to bench now. When they go back, they have to make a bracha prior. Yeah, fine. Now, if they went for it was just for Devar Shush, it wasn't a mitzvah which is going to pass. And then the question is, do they have to? Did he say that by default those who left, their meal is finished? And there could be a smart to say the answer is yeah, but okay.
Of Hametzi or
The bracha of the chil, those words are referencing Hametzi. When it says Tzichin lebracha lemafreya, it means they have to bench. So Tzichin lebracha lemafreya, they have to bench what they ate prior, which they should do before they leave. If not, they should do it after they come back. When they come back, hopefully bench before they left, and they come return now, they have to take a new bracha.
And why is it Hayil B'Shin L'Kneimik sort of a bottom?
Where are you reading?
In Halacha, the end of Halacha Gimel. When he went out.
Yeah, that's exactly the word. This one individual, when he leaves to talk to his friend, that by leaving his location, the meal gets terminated automatically.
Huh?
By leaving his location, the student gets ended automatically. If he stays in the same location, if he doesn't leave, if he stays in the same house, the meal's not over. That's exactly the verb. Ches. The chiddush over here is even though they left, they went outside into the street, danced the chas and kalan, they went back inside, the meal is not terminated. Why not? Because they left some people behind.
If you could see the place where
that's a whole
different thing.
I didn't chas v'halachas l'maisa, and then the question is that does that play a role? Fine, but Darren doesn't mention that. But that's a valid point in mitzad halacha. Yes, that's discussed as well. If you could see the location and they're sitting around to drink wine or to eat fruits, right? Not mazenis ametzi, and let's say it's fruits of wine or fruits of the shivas minimum l'chayr. You could let's say like that. She call it mashana. Same thing applies. She call it mashana mekayim pasuk lechilase. Because these are things unlike regular fruits and vegetables. The nafashim is minim. The din of making the bracha in the same place is not as rigid. So therefore, it's not exactly. Therefore, if you're mashana makom, you're not supposed to be mashana makom. That's a problem. So therefore, if you change location, by changing location, the eating session has been terminated. And therefore, if you change location, you have to make a bracha before you leave, and if not, after you leave, you have to take a bracha now you ate prior. Even I'm going to keep drinking wine, I'm going to keep eating grapes or pomegranates. Nevertheless, you have to make a bracha now. I'll get now. Now, if I take a new bracha, all I want to eat now, even if I went back to my original location, by leaving, the session has been terminated. The meal has been terminated. Now, what if it's in the same house, or again, it gets complicated if it's the same room, different rooms? Let's keep it simple. Same house, same room. Yeah, big dining room. So, there's no need to make a new bracha. That's not considered change of location. If you're outdoors, possibly discuss if it's in an orchard with a fence around it, is that one room, whatever. Okay, you're eating at the eastern side of the big fig tree. You want to eat now. You want to finish on the western side. That's the new location. North, south, or east, west is new location. But north to east or west, or south, east or west, that's not as big as a shina because not opposite side.
You say orchard, but it doesn't mean orchard, or it means by the side of the tree.
Yeah, so it's a question. Let's keep it simple. Let's say it's in an open field, no walls around it, and just one tree. Now, you want to get complicated. What if there was a wall around it? What if multiple trees, so the trees themselves are a stickle hecker? Okay, so that's discussed in halacha. But the point is, I'm just saying that even outdoors, a significant location would be east or west. That'd be the same idea of location. Some say that when he says pears could even mean not wine, and even pears that are not fishus minim. But that's not necessarily the case, and that gets more involved. Okay, halacha vav. Berach al pas person made a bracha on bread hametzi. Patak al peres shayichin panas. He eats all the paperes. Paperes is like different types of anything which you eat the bread with, a dip or whatever, and you eat the bread with the bread. Mina tavshil of any types of cooked dish or pears or fruits, produce really you could say. Anything you eat with the bread as part of the accompanying bread. In other words, I mean, eat lechem. At that point, everything else that you eat the bread with becomes secondary to the bread. And Lamaisa we hold that anything, even if you don't eat it with the bread mamish, you eat a piece of chicken, a piece of meat, it's considered secondary to the lechem. It's part of the meal, and the bread is the main staple, so it's as if you ate it with the bread, so to speak. If a person just makes hamaisi because he doesn't want to forget to make brachas, the brachas are complicated, whatever. So then, or I have myself, I did this because I was in a place where I thought that I would be able to make it later on to be kids running around 30 diapers. So before they came, I should make up a bracha hamaisi. I wouldn't have to make brachas later. The problem with that is that do you say then that the fruit that you eat in the meal, like a chicken, is that considered with the bread? I bet I didn't want the bread. I just ate the slice of bread, so I shouldn't say a bracha. I have to make brachas. So that gets more complicated. About kids, so when you eat the bread because you're hungry, you want to have bread. Anything with the meal is considered with the bread, and it all gets second.
You're not
It's all
eating
considered secondary. Mela, all the bread is considered. All the food is considered secondary. Ashaloche, none of it requires a bracha.
There's not talking about bread where it's required besides sweet as mitzvah.
No, any meal, absolutely. Ali and Baruch al Perez, a person makes a bracha on anything which accompanies the bread. They put as a pass. That's not part of the pass because the pass is primary, and this is secondary. Even though you might think, what? Yeah.
Pass is always primary.
Yeah, right. But there's more than that over here. Over here, you might say that either the paparis is reiv or whatever it is. But the thing is that the paparis is always secondary to the pass. Berach al mai sekadei. A person makes a bracha on the creativity thing from the pot, meaning anything which is mezainis made in the pot, spaghetti, let's say for example. Anything which is mezainis, really, that's what it means. Pot of the tafshil, that's pot of the tafshil. Eating the spaghetti and meatballs, you make a mezainis on the spaghetti, you pot of the meatballs because it's considered secondary to it. Just for that same reason, because my sekadera, which is dagan, is also considered primary staple. Yiberach al tafshil pot of my sekadera. B'di'evet, a person makes shahakal on the meatballs, he's pater the mezainis on the spaghetti, because according to the Rambam, each one is considered, it's not pas of paparis. Pas is major primary compared to paparis, which is major secondary. So with the eved, the bracha on the tuna fish is not going to pass to the bread. When it comes to spaghetti and meatballs, so then each one is the spaghetti is more primary, but it's not pas, so it's not as great of a discrepancy. Therefore, with the eved, you made shahak on the meatballs, and your mind was to pot of the whole dish. And you forgot it. You forgot it was the meatball. The spaghetti was mezainis, whatever. But yeah, the whole dish is pattered, and you don't say bracha according to the Rambam on the whole thing.
No, it says here light butter is my second.
Oh, thank you. So there's different gesayos, right? I knew I forgot something. Okay, good. Therefore, yeah. So according to your girsa, and then we talk about treat.
Aren't you glad that I'm listening?
Yes, thank you. So that's the girsa of the Lechem Mishnah. Who else has that girsa? There's a few. Yeah, there's different gesayos here. Thank you. According to that girsa, mezainis and bread are the same. According to this girsa, as I said, that's the difference. Good. Lamaisa, what do we say in the poskim?
How come he doesn't touch upon anything about if you forgot to bench? He only talks about if you forgot to make a mitzvah.
We sort of did when the person left. That was actually you Perek Beis. No, we talked about that. Right? The person forgot to make a that was Perek Beis. Person got the bench. No, sorry, Perek Gimel. Excuse me. Perek Gimel. We talked about that a bit. Right? And it depends on whether or not bench going down. It depends. Once you put it down, it's very simple. If you forgot the bench, if you as long as you're not hungry for a new meal, the food has not digested, you'll leave the bench. If you're already hungry, the food then you don't have to bench. The ma'aseh gets more involved in halach in terms of 96 minutes, 72 minutes after that, but the siddur. Yeah. Vav. Sorry, Zion. Yes, so the Kesef Mishnah had your girsa. That's why, okay, Gomer believer that Chalmish's person has in his mind, he decides, I'm done eating, right? He says, he thinks to himself, he's finished eating. Now, what does that mean? In his mind, does he have to actually do an action? But whatever it means. He says, I want to eat and drink some more. Even though he did not change his location, he's in the same spot, on the same table. Because by having in mind that he's finished, that terminates the previous meal. And therefore now, if he wants to keep eating, it's not necessarily to make a new bracha first, and then to make a new bracha shena. But if he wants to keep eating, he has to at least make a new bracha shena, a new bracha prior. If he did not have in mind to finish eating, he wants to keep eating further. I feel the pasuk in that case, he stopped. He said, "In the Pele Mamish, he stopped eating." It wasn't the kavana. It was simply just like he got busy, whatever. The conversation, he's by the table, talking, whatever. But he didn't have in mind to stop. So then, since he did not change his location, he does not have to take a new bracha. The first bracha is still in play.
But why would that be a shayla because you have what's the most common thing by a meal? You say divrei Torah, so you stop eating and you can talk for an hour.
Yeah. So
And
here's
you
the
say
Rambam
divrei
says.
Torah. Why would that be a kasha?
Oh, so the Rambam says that filu pasak kolim kulei. Does that mean even if he got so hungry that he now the food is digested and he has to eat again?
72.
So if you want to say the answer is that Rambam means that the chiddush is obvious. You can also say the Rambam. You can say the Rambam says no. The word is the Rambam is saying that has to not mamash kolim kulei. It has to be short amount of time enough. The food hasn't digested yet. He's not hungry yet. You can say like that as well. What's the chiddush in that case?
I also had to say shadow.
Yeah.
But that's
Good
what people
question.
do in a meal.
What's the chiddush?
Yeah. What the Rambam is saying is that there's no time frame essentially. It depends on that. So that's his point. Yeah, because he didn't change location. So other people want to say Pshat is Rambam says that as long as you didn't get up from the table with the kavanah to go outside. Once you stood from the table, kavanah to go outside. Okay. People were sitting around drinking wine together, and they said, "Let's bench." In other words, they were either the Rambam means b'chamazin, which means a bracha on wine. More but Pashas Rambam is talking about a case where they had bread, and then they're drinking wine, and someone said, "Let's bench." And then they said, "You know what? Actually, let's have some more wine. The bottle's not finished. Let's finish the bottle." A better kaddish, they said, "Let's make kiddush." Now, if it's already a shkia, the third gets more problematic because you're not allowed to drink anyway. So let's say it's after Plag HaMincha, so it's less than 75 halachic minutes before shkia.
And
now you could say kiddush. No, it's lav daf is food over here. So lav is food. But someone said, "Let's make kiddush," right? But yes, that's a fair point. Paris map I think it comes into play in a second. So once they say that, even if they say, "You know what, never mind, let's not," because once you say let's bench, or let's say kiddush, you become mechuyev in benching, mechuyev in kiddush. Once that mitzvah opportunity comes, you're not allowed to keep drinking or eating until you do that mitzvah. So then also it's also different. You drink achi yivorchu to make bench, or you kachu, or they make kiddush. If they're going to keep drinking or keep drinking before making kiddush or benching, even though they're not allowed to do that, so they either way have to make a brei paragafen. Only afterwards are they allowed to drink, because by saying let's make kiddush, let's bench, again, that's sort of that fact that we them to bench, we them to kiddush, terminates the previous situation regarding the wine they were drinking. So therefore, even though the chayr they washed earlier, they didn't bench yet. Peil mamish, the wine they're drinking now requires a new bracha. Now, if the word is much Shabbos, and it says like Avdallah. So they don't have to. If they want to drink more wine, they're not taking a new brei paragafen. Because be'etzem the chiyuv of Havdalah is not as strong as the chiyuv of Kiddush, in the sense that once you say let's do it, you have to do it immediately. Lav dafki, you can do it a little bit later, and therefore you no chiyuv to. It's not as much as a chiyuv that automatically makes that since Havdalah now is mamash required at this moment, you're by default your drinking session has been terminated. That's not the case. Yeah. Or you could say more benegaya, the difference between whether or not you're allowed to drink or eat before Havdalah versus before Kiddush, whereas you keep drinking b'chlal after Shabbos, right? As long as you didn't bench.
The whole situation is very it's very funny, because in order to have that situation where you're drinking before Havdalah, it's because you already lechatchila started with a hamoitzi.
The truth is, you could say a pshat like this. They say Bo Navdil. It's an hour before Shkia. You can't have Havdalah on Shabbos after Plag HaMincha, right? You can say that as well. So in that case, the chiyuv to stop making Havdalah is not as pronounced. Okay. They were sitting together, gathering together to drink wine. Someone brought a new type of wine, new bottle. Open a new barrel, yeah. They were drinking red wine. This guy brought black wine, right, which is much more deep red, which is, They were drinking old wine. Guy brought new wine, which, by the way, usually cannot considered more meshubach, right? There's no chiyuv to make a bracha a second time. And that mechuyev making again because they had in mind to drink all the wine in the house. The fact that someone brought a new bottle, that mechuyev no hagafen. What bracha do you make on a new bottle of wine is hateva mated, because one reason is every single wine production has its own mazid. The same vineyard and two guys can produce with the same wine fermented, one guy is it's good and one guy is not good. That wine is totally a mazel. Therefore, fermented is thanking the Eibishter for so it's the same min. But mitzad the bracha of each wine is a little different. That has its own bracha. Another view he says over here is that wine is a mecha person. It's appropriate that a person should temper the simcha by remembering the harugei beitar. That was why the Masaka Teva Meitiv. Same reason why we make the same lashon by Teva Meitiv, the fourth bracha of Birchas Hamazon. Okay. B'chal Maisa, I think that a lot of different poskim out there, but all the contemporary, all the later poskim, so to speak, if you will, have different opinions about when you do this. I once met a big rav from the OU who told me that he never says a Teva Meitiv ever, because he says the clarity and certainty that it's a situation where you have to make it, at least according to Mishnah Berurah, is it's very hard to be sure, and I think out there it might be a little less complicated, but even so, it's definitely not as clear cut as people think sometimes. I think
of
one of the reasons why the bracha at Teva Meitiv on wine was established, one opinion over here is that since every wine is different from the other wine, so
there's no good have to do with the fourth bracha.
When was the fourth bracha of benching instituted? After the Roman emperor finally gave him permission to bury the corpses of the corpses of Beitar, they instituted the bracha of Teva Meitiv to thank Hashem. Hashem is good. So why was that thankfulness established after by that time of benching? Good question. I'm not sure. I said yesterday. I don't know. I don't remember.
It's so good. By when if you have a bottle of wine that's $15, and then somebody brings you a bottle of wine that's $100.
Fine. So it could be that's the question. Can you be confident that that's a different type of wine? Do we know what's good wine, bad wine? There's a few.
What you paid
there's
for.
a few factors. Yeah. Or it could be. Yeah. Okay. Fine. I'm not a mumchus. I don't know. You don't make a bracha on your food or any drink until it's in front of you. Right? You can't
without shame and mouth.
Yeah, that you could also do. That could always do. Yeah. It has to be in front of you. Right? The fact that you know it's coming in the moment is not enough. You may sit down, make hamoitzi, and the waiter knows to bring the bread. That's not how it works. You shouldn't do that. If he made a bracha only after it was brought in front of him, how close is in front of him? Dalaramis, different room, the same room, what does that mean? But whatever that means, the bracha you made when it was not in front of you, you're not yitzim, therefore you have to make a new bracha. Not all you take a food in your hand, made a bracha on it, it fell from your hand, and it got burnt. Stuff over the river washed it away. Or it fell down on the floor now. It's disgusting. Let's see, it was applesauce fell on the floor. Right? You're not going to eat it now. It's disgusting. Yeah? So then that bracha you made by default was terminated. So if you take a new thing and make a bracha on it again. Even the same species. In other words, if you're going to take a different species or you're going to decide not to eat anymore, it's a sign of I shouldn't eat. Fine. But even if you're taking the exact same type of item, you have to make a new bracha. So
two halves of a sandwich. You made a bracha on one half and it fell to the ground. So now you're taking the second half. You have to make another bracha.
So you're asking if two cookies are in front of you, you made a mezainis on one, having in mind both, and you dropped the one in your hand. Yeah, you do. By dropping it, the bracha got terminated. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Since you had in mind to make a bracha on this item, you were holding it, and then you now can't eat it anymore, the bracha got terminated. Yeah, he proceeded with Shulchan Aruch. Oh, actually, one second, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So that's what the Mechaber says. That's how Alter Rebbe holds. Rama is not sure about that, but the Ma'aseh, that's how we say it. Right. Wow. Once it falls, the bracha has been voided. But you would say Baruch Shem from the word void or just Olam? Oh, okay. But it does not say void. Say it fine. Al bracha rishayna on this first bracha you make, this way you have not said Hashem's name for no reason.
What was the story with the apple with one of the Rabbeim? That the kids are going to make a bracha, and you're going to have to give me the apple. The same thing as like we asked for Mashiach or Mashiach.
Yeah, right. There's a Maisa with someone, a child who wanted an apple. The father said no. I don't know if it actually happened or if it's.
Yeah, sure. The story with the Rebbe Shabbat.
No, I'm just saying. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fine. So he said it ate, and the father had to give it to him.
Right.
So the Rebbe says if we're b'simcha Mashiach as if you already came, so then it's Hashem will have to say Mashiach.
But you can't make a bracha on the apple if the apple is not actually there. We can't make
so
a bracha.
So this is a kid, and that's no. So it's not a bracha. The bracha says a simcha. Yeah. So this is funny because the person said the bracha to praise the Eibishter. But Oines it fell. And he praised Hashem, very praised. Hashem created the position. Why is it considered Shem Torah? Weisler, he said, Saint Avish's name in this context is only allowed if it's going to actually result in what it results in. And therefore, over here, not like a person makes a bracha for no reason, he should say Baruch Shem. Right? But a person made the bracha for the right reason. But Ba'onis, he couldn't eat, still he has to say Baruch Shem. That's if he says Baruch Hashem only. Right. Here he said already, a person wants to drink water by the river. And you make a bracha shehakol, but the water you're making is not in front of you, and the water that's in front of you is going to be long gone by the time you. So a person can stand by the river and mavarech. Amasamayim is like a stream, and make a bracha shehakol v'shoyse. Al bi shamayim shoyu lefanav v'shasa bracha inim imayim shoyse. Even the water in front of you when you say shehakol is not going to be in front of you when you finish the bracha. That was your kavanah. For slightly the bracha on that thing, even though it's not in front of you. So why is it considered? So here, I guess the word is you have no choice because I weren't geyser. My water fountain, same idea, right? You put water fountain on, you say shahakol. By the time you say shahakol, now the other beer is that you make shahakol on the river, all the water's in front of you. The fact that you can't reach it's one big pot. The fact that you make a shahakol on a pot of water, I have to drink the water back from the whole thing. According to that beer, the water fountain's more complicated because not all connected necessarily. So ask her up. Things, food that comes in the middle of the meal, that's part of the meal. It does not require bracha prior or afterwards. It's included in the hamaitzi of the bracha, v'sheina, and included in the bracha achrona of benching. The bracha mitzvah prior and benching at the end, after all the food. Shakot, fill it's all secondary to the meal itself. The food that's now not part of the suda. Like fruits, for example, shaboyim to come middle of the meal, point the middle of the meal. Person wants to eat an apple. To if he found a new apple, a different, a new kind of, he wants to try it. That requires a bracha lefnei, bracha prior. It's not considered secondary to the bread. It's not considered part of the meal. The ain turn bracha lachem, but a bracha is not required. It's not included in brichas hamazon. We make a bracha adama on the morer or on karpas, and that includes the morer. But there's no bracha achrona on the karpas, even if you have a kazayis, by the way, for this reason. Okay, if you have a full kazayis of karpas, you don't make a bracha achrona afterwards.
No.
Actually, over there we didn't bench it. We didn't even bench it. We didn't wash it. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, that's more complicated. Whatever. But the things that come after the meal, you didn't have not yet bench it, but they're still before machreinim. But to consider the meal's already finished. Even if it's considered part of the meal, even if it is considered something which you eat part of the meal, that does require bracha before and after. Once you finish, we say we're done. We're done eating. Even though you did not yet wash my machreinim, then the food you eat now requires a new bracha before and after, according to the Rambam. Halachic base, Shabbos and Yom Tov, when you're mechuyev to make kiddush. The the person has when he finishes letting blood, which a person will always have wine. The base when he goes out of the bathhouse. Things like that. A person has the meal, he has wine. Back then the bathhouse was very hot. There was boiling water. And it was extremely hot, and they wouldn't have soap. The hot water cleaned you, so that the wine was very rejuvenating. Made a bracha from the wine before the meal. And that includes that part of the wine you drink before, during, and even after the meal. Despite the fact that you're not yet, as long as you're not yet benched. And therefore you don't have to make the bracha. Al b'shayim, other days where the wine is not something you mechuyev or you normally start the meal with, and even if you do make have a cup of wine before the meal, at that point, after you finish eating, even though it's before you bench, you would have to make a new hagafen, because there it's not a given that the wine includes the entire meal. If someone brings wine in the middle of the meal and there was no wine before, so he did not yet say hagafen. Everyone says on hagafen. The people have food in their mouth, and the throat where you swallow is not available to answer amen after the person's bracha is going to say hagaf for everybody. And also that hagaf you make in the middle of the meal, if you want to drink more wine after the meal prior to benching, because after benching you obviously make a new bracha. But even though it's before benching, since that wine is that you drank in the middle of the meal, just to help yourself digest. So therefore, the food after you finish eating is a separate cheshbon. It's not about digestion, and therefore it requires only the bracha independently from the hagafen you made on the wine you had during the meal.